Every night before going to sleep, the girl had to be tied up hand and foot because the man before her eyes was a serial psychopath. Under the dual torment of body and mind, she seemed to have lost the will to resist. Seeing Kara's desolate state, the man was convinced she could never escape his clutches and contentedly went to sleep. However, Richard could never have imagined that he, who had already murdered 3 young girls, would soon fall at the hands of this very girl. Not long ago, Kara was watering the flowers at her doorstep. At that time, she could never have imagined that these criminals would be so bold. To successfully abduct Kara, Richard disguised himself as a salesman to strike up a conversation with her. Kara had no idea that the man with the harmless expression in front of her was a psychopath. In the midst of their small talk, taking advantage of Kara's unguarded moment, Richard quickly pressed a gun to her neck. This instantly petrified Kara. Then Richard threatened Kara, saying if she didn't want to die, she should follow him. The terrified Kara could only obey Richard's orders. Next, Kara was asked to crawl into a car. In the back seat of the car was a large storage box prepared by Richard in advance. Kara's mind was still in a daze as she crawled into the box. Whatever Richard said, Kara did. Only when the lid of the box was closed did Kara dare to breathe heavily. When Kara realized that this person was driving her to an unknown place, she became aware that she might be in danger. Thinking this, Kara's emotions were on the verge of collapse. Just as Kara was feeling anxious and uneasy, Richard suddenly brought the car to a stop, perhaps worried that Kara in the box would scream and attract unwanted attention. To be safe, Richard fetched some tools to tie Kara up and gag her mouth. It seemed only then could Richard be reassured. After doing all this, Richard planned to continue on the road with Kara. Kara, in the storage box, heard the car start again, and her heart was even more terrified, especially now that her hands and feet were tied. The chance of escape was even more remote. When the lid of the storage box was opened again, Kara found herself in a strange house. It seemed to be Richard's home. Richard began to threaten Kara. He said he could untie Kara, but to avoid unnecessary trouble, he would keep a gun trained on her. If Kara screamed or tried to run away, Richard would shoot her dead. Kara could only nod in fear. Then Richard let go of Kara, but Kara could never have imagined what happened next would completely overturn her worldview. Richard took Kara to his bedroom. Kara seemed to have a premonition of what was going to happen to her. Unexpectedly, Richard first set the rules for Kara. That is, here in this place, Kara must get Richard's permission for anything she wants to do. If she breaks the rules, she will pay with her life. Moreover, more importantly, in the days to come, Kara must regard Richard as her father. Richard's words shocked Kara. She could never have imagined this man would be so perverted. Richard began to ask if Kara understood.
Understood.
Yes, Daddy.
Then, this psychopath started his filthy actions. As Kara lay on the bed, despair filled her entire body. After suffering abuse, Kara's will to survive became even stronger. Having panicked earlier, Kara now calmed down and decided to save herself. On the surface, Kara seemed submissive to Richard, but in her heart, she was thinking about how to escape from this place. Moreover, Kara thought that even if she couldn't escape, she would try to gather evidence of Richard's crimes. So, Kara began to initiate conversations with Richard, trying to collect some useful information. However, Richard, who was very vigilant, refused to reveal any key identity information to Kara. Kara understood that she needed to wait for another opportunity. Time quickly moved to the evening. Seeing that she had gained nothing, Kara found that Richard seemed to really like small animals. After getting Richard's permission, Kara went to the cages where the small animals were kept, casually asking Richard about the types of animals. Perhaps when talking about his hobby, Richard let down his guard and introduced all the animals to Kara. Taking advantage of Richard's unguarded moment, Kara bravely asked Richard where he was from. Unintentionally, Richard revealed his experience of having been in the Navy in San Diego. Realizing he had slipped up, Richard became somewhat angry and decided to punish Kara properly. So, he took Kara to the living room. Kara didn't expect that she was about to endure another unbearable experience. It turns out Richard wanted Kara to watch a movie with him. The unbearable scenes in the movie once again deeply traumatized Kara. Kara's spirit was so tormented that she became somewhat disoriented. Perhaps because Richard was in a good mood at the moment, Kara got the chance to go to the bathroom. However, when Kara got to the bathroom, she looked at the window and thought of escaping, but just as Kara was about to close the door, she was stopped by Richard. To prevent Kara from playing any tricks, Richard watched as Kara finished using the bathroom, and just as Kara was about to wash her hands.
Ask permission.
May I wash my hands, please, Daddy?
No one understands the world of perverts, and Kara is no exception. But at this moment, Kara had no interest in what was going on in Richard's mind, because whenever there was an opportunity, Kara would secretly remember all the information she could see. Kara's compliance made Richard very happy, and he even decided to make a special dinner for Kara, but Kara had no appetite at all. She boldly told Richard that she really couldn't eat anything, which led to Richard's dissatisfaction. Here, the only thing Kara could do was obey, to avoid making Richard angry and causing trouble for herself. And to gather more evidence, Kara immediately pretended to be pleasing Richard. Kara expressed to Richard that she wanted to do some housework. This time, Richard did not object. Next, while sweeping the floor, Kara took the opportunity to search the room for useful clues. She memorized the phone number on Richard's business card stuck on the refrigerator. She was trying hard to observe any information she could get. However, her actions soon caught Richard's attention.
Take that off.
Following this, Kara once again faced punishment. Having been violated once again, Kara dared not make any more small movements. At this time, Richard turned on the TV, because he wanted to see if there were any news reports about Kara's disappearance. Seeing everything as usual in the news, Richard was relieved. This also made Kara lose some confidence. Had her mother really not realized that she had been missing for so long? Perhaps sensing Kara's unusual behavior, Richard first mocked Kara coldly, and then became more unrestrained in his actions. He dragged Kara back to the bedroom and took out the storage box from before. It turned out that Richard needed to make a phone call. To avoid being discovered by anyone that a girl was trapped here, Richard had to lock Kara in this box. Kara was powerless against this, and apart from obediently following orders, she seemed unable to do anything else. Richard gagged Kara's mouth again, but this time, because Kara was in a state of extreme tension, she began to feel a strong sense of suffocation in the confined space of the box. Kara didn't know what was wrong with her, but her struggling noises still angered Richard. He furiously pulled up Kara and scolded her. However, seeing that Kara seemed really unwell, Richard agreed to first remove the gag from her mouth, but the condition was that Kara must remain quiet and not make any noise. Under Richard's threat, Kara could only obediently follow his orders. When Kara lay back in the storage box, perhaps because she had just experienced a moment close to death, at this moment, she wanted to survive more than ever before. Kara dared not make any sound and stayed in the box for a long time. Kara's obedience successfully calmed Richard's anger, and she was let out. But Kara had not recovered from her fear. She couldn't stop sobbing quietly. Richard, seeing Kara's pitiful state, even began to comfort her warmly. But it seemed that Richard didn't realize that it was he who caused Kara's emotional breakdown. All his kindness was just a facade. Then, Richard took out an unidentified pill and wanted Kara to swallow it. Kara knew she couldn't escape this ordeal, but she also knew that she couldn't escape Richard's clutches at the moment. Reluctantly, Kara braced herself and swallowed the pill. As expected, Kara was about to experience those nauseating ordeals again. After an unknown period, Richard took Kara to the bathroom. Kara, still terrified, only wanted to escape the danger as soon as possible. Watching Richard leave her sight after freshening up, and realizing she was in the bathroom, Kara saw her chance and acted immediately. After closing the door, Kara quickly went to the window. Just as she was trying to open it, she was discovered by Richard. With a gunshot, Kara was brought back to reality. It was another one of her imaginations. Kara knew she still needed to wait for another chance to escape. There was no opportunity right now. Could Kara successfully escape, or was she really going to be imprisoned by this psychopath until death? However, hope always comes silently in despair. Sure enough, Kara soon found her chance. That night, before going to sleep, although Richard tied her up to prevent her escape, it was this very action that made Richard let his guard down temporarily. He firmly believed that Kara could not break free from the ropes and comfortably went to sleep. Kara, already exhausted from the torture, also fell asleep. The next morning, Kara woke up first, hearing Richard snoring beside her. Kara suddenly realized this was a rare opportunity to escape. So, Kara began to struggle to free herself from the ropes. But it wasn't easy. Despite her best efforts, Kara couldn't unlock the buckle. Left with no choice, Kara tried to bite it open. Just as her teeth were about to give out, the buckle was finally unlocked by Kara. Kara carefully made no sound. This opportunity was once in a lifetime. If the demon beside her woke up, she might be trapped here forever. However, while Kara was unlocking the shackles on her feet, she accidentally made a noise. This caused her heart to leap into her throat. Fortunately, Richard did not wake up. Immediately after, Kara quickly got out of bed, put on safety pants, and tiptoed out of the bedroom. Kara mustered all her strength to free herself from the handcuffs. Without any hesitation, she went to the apartment door. Kara removed the obstacles blocking the door one by one, with only one thought in mind as she opened the door to run. The moment she gained freedom, Kara fled at a sprinter's pace. It was a race against time, as fast as she could go. Kara internally urged herself not to be caught again. After much effort, Kara finally made it to the roadside. Seeing a passing black sedan, Kara quickly signaled for help. When the driver pulled over, Kara informed the two men in the car about her kidnapping. Although they were somewhat skeptical, seeing Kara's frantic state, they decided to take her to the police station first. As the scene shifted, Kara arrived at the police station and told the police everything that had happened to her. While filing the case, the police also contacted Kara's mother, Deborah. It turned out that Deborah had already reported Kara's disappearance to the police a short while after she went missing. Hearing that her daughter was alive, Deborah burst into tears of joy. Now it was time to catch the criminal. With Kara's help, the police quickly learned the address of the psychopath, including some features and information about Richard's house. But when the police arrived at the scene, the place was already empty. Richard was not only a psychopath but also had a sense of counter-surveillance. Now, Richard's whereabouts were unknown. What's even more unbelievable is that when the police investigated Richard's house, they discovered that Richard was a repeat offender, and 3 girls have already been killed by him. Knowing this, Sheriff Jim understood the urgency of capturing the criminal and immediately issued a citywide manhunt. If this psychopath was allowed to roam free, other girls might suffer the same fate. Oddly enough, despite extensive searches, the police found no trace of Richard, as if he had never appeared in this city. Left with no choice, Jim once again approached Kara to recall the incident in detail, to see if there were any overlooked details. Although Deborah was reluctant for Kara to relive those horrific memories, the resilient Kara insisted on cooperating with the police. Kara had already shared all the information she remembered with the police, but upon further reflection, she recalled a crucial clue. Richard had mentioned he had served in the Navy in San Diego. Jim quickly notified the police department. With the efforts of many officers, Richard's whereabouts were soon discovered. Richard instinctively tried to flee but was eventually cornered, and, knowing he had no way out, chose to take his own life. With the death of this psychopath, the story came to an end. This film is adapted from a real-world event. Although there are some improbabilities in the plot, it is a true story of a girl's self-redemption. Her calm, intelligent, and brave demeanor is something everyone can learn from. Those interested can watch the original film. Thank you for watching. See you next time.